Going back to our previous thing, there is a rivalry that I actually do want to get on a podcast that's a national podcast. My little sister attended Montana State, and I'll say this: the most underrated rivalry in college football, honestly, is Montana State. I have actually, hang on.
Are we talking Montana football right now?
For it. Wait. So having
do they
visited
play?
having visited,
squad, do they play 8-a-side?
Is it like 8-man football up there? Do they have enough guys to like put teams together? Like,
is that Division 1?
Yes, it's Division 1. It's FCS. It's D1 FCS. But so the craziest thing that got me, because I had never, like, again, when my sister went there, like, I was your guy. I was exactly like your guys' reaction is right now.
all right, guys. Hey, welcome to Sports Den, the podcast. My name is Brian, and this week's episode is brought to you by fourthandlongdesigns.com, trendy apparel for the knowledgeable fan. We do have a full show today. We got Jonathan and Ben and myself, so I'm going to just kick it over to Ben, and we're going to get going.
All right. You know what? Just when you guys get comfortable with every week starting my podcast, I start the podcast the same way with football. I change things.
Okay.
We're going to the NBA to start. We're going to start with the NBA. We're going to mix everything up. You know, it feels fun. So the NBA is, everything's kind of awesome happening.
I'm excited and slightly terrified.
Yeah, I'm trying things. Things are weird. But yeah, everything's kind of going strong. I've been bugged about one of my picks. Now, for the record, it was kind of an off-the-cuff pick when I made it, when we were making our picks at the beginning of the season, that I thought Luka would have a sophomore slump year. And I will say, for the record, it's still definitely possible. Like, he could very well fall off. But he has been showing up. He's been playing really, really well.
Really well as an unders.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
He's a top 5 player in the league over the first, 12 games or whatever. Yeah. But
yeah, he's been fantastic. A lot of cool stuff's happening. I am a little surprised this far in. I actually didn't think the Lakers would be this good. I knew the Lakers were going to win games, but I didn't actually see them living at the top of things for the beginning.
Well, I think it's safe to say that Anthony Davis is the best teammate LeBron has had. I think it's safe to say, I definitely didn't see someone going to be better than Dwayne Wade, but oh my goodness, Anthony Davis just fits so stinking well with LeBron.
I think, and I said this at the beginning of the season before it started, that is going to be the greatest pick and roll that we've seen in a long time. It's amazing watching them run. And I think, too, like, LeBron kind of had that off year. It almost feels like last year, it kind of felt like Tom Brady in 2008 when he tore his ACL and he just sat out for the year. And it was almost like a mid-career rest season, right? Well, LeBron's at what, year 15? What is it, year something? I think him kind of taking last year off in a lot of ways, missing most of the season, may have been the best thing for him because he looks really fresh and he looks like year 9 LeBron. You know, he looks like championship LeBron. He doesn't look like an old man. And so, yeah, the Lakers are going to be good. I would like to see the Lakers maybe make some trades and make some moves for another piece to really put them over the top. But I think for right now, they're crushing people.
Well, I'm just saying another great basketball player did take a year off in his 30s. Of course, he went and played baseball, but then he came back and wrecked the league. LeBron took his first his first year in, was it 8 straight years that he didn't play in the finals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so that's a huge deal. That's a lot of miles on his body that he didn't get. And dude, it's showing. He is crazy good.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I still think they're going to come back down. I still think they're going to have a coming down period. I don't think they're going to be the number 1 seed out of the West.
No,
definitely good. I just didn't expect him to be this good this early.
Yeah.
I think Houston will end up being the number 1 seed. And then I think the Clippers will probably also possibly pass the Lakers. But I do think come playoff time, I think the Lakers will probably the way the Lakers are playing defense is what is really getting me.
Yeah.
Um the I usually when Anthony Davis has played the 4, it has not been as good defensively, even though it's where he feels more comfortable. Now, granted, I think we have learned JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard are better than Amira Sheik and whatever other cardboard cutout the Pelicans were putting beside him. Boogie, I thought the Boogie injury was going to kill the Lakers. It didn't. It didn't at all. I think they're better. I think they're better with him not playing, which is sad because I love Boogie. But yeah.
Any other games or teams you want to talk about going through before we move on to that next part what we had with the NBA?
Well, I mean, the East is really interesting because I feel like obviously, and this is how it's been the last couple of years, the East is really top heavy right now. You've got Boston, you've got Milwaukee, Miami. The Heat are actually 11-3, and good.
But Jimmy Butler is on that team. It will
conference. That's true. That's true. I still think Milwaukee is the team to beat. But I'm looking out. I think Toronto is a sneaky team this year. Everybody thought with Kawhi leaving that they were going to kind of implode on themselves. But bro, like Pascal Siakam is a legitimate NBA star, and I think Van Vliet is a very, very, very good second option for them. So I look for Toronto to make some noise, but I still think that the East goes through Milwaukee. And right now, with the shooters that they put around Giannis, I don't. Besides them liking to blow leads in the third quarter, if they can tighten that up, it's going to be Milwaukee in the finals.
Well, let's be honest. While we're talking about the East, it's all completely over. Ben Simmons hit a regular season 3-pointer. It's all over. They've won the next 6 titles, right? That's how being a Philly sports fan works, right?
Absolutely.
No, it means that when you don't win one, you throw things at Santa Claus.
Oh, that's true.
That's what it really means to be a Philly sports fan. Yeah, that's gonna be great. I mean, the East is still for me really interesting. This is a very interesting year for the NBA, and I get, it's kind of a weird perspective, but there are actually, for the first time in recent memory, there are actually combinations of teams that could win the thing. As opposed
we're not looking at the last 6-7 years we had probably, I mean, and I'm talking going back to LeBron in Miami. 13-14. We've had maybe 2 teams out of each conference that could have legitimately won the championship.
Yeah.
And now it feels like we've got at least 4. Now it feels like we've got at least 4 in each conference that could make the finals.
I mean, I think the Lakers, the Rockets, the Clippers, and maybe the Nuggets all could very well be in the finals. It's that as far as the West, Milwaukee, Miami, Boston, Toronto, Philly, like all of them, hypothetically could all make it. Or one of them, obviously not all of them, but like one of them could make it. It would if somebody had a time machine and came back and said, "Hey, the finals." Was Philadelphia and Houston or Philadelphia, Denver, like we'd be like, oh, okay, that probably makes sense, like, okay, I could see that happening. I don't think that there's any, but the thing is outside of that, I don't see that there's any dark horse teams. I don't think that you're going to see a Wizards team or an Orlando team come out of the middle of nowhere and start,
not in the East. I think the West has some dark horses. I still think that actually could just it would be a wow, great story. But if Utah was to go on, I could see. Again, you said time machine. Someone comes through and be like, Utah went on a run and made it to the finals. I'd be like, man, that's crazy. But I wouldn't be like,
and
that's completely impossible. I can't imagine that happening. I can imagine a world where Utah.
That's Silver's worst nightmare because of how small that market is. Like,
oh yeah,
it's like they would. Could you imagine?
No, Silver's worst nightmare. Silver's worst nightmare is like an Indiana New Orleans finals. But yes.
Yep. Nope. 100%.
So speaking of that, we're gonna go through and kind of go on. So yeah, the city jerseys for the NBA are. I love this time of year. I love it when we get the city jerseys. The city jerseys, they bring something special out, whether they're good, bad. They give teams an opportunity to have a separate identity or have something that's separate thing to showcase, which I just kind of love. I love that every year.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love the Nuggets jerseys. It's that classic rainbow skyline with the mountains in the back. I like, seriously. I think after looking through all of them, for me, Denver's the freshest, and then Chicago's just need to be thrown away.
Chicago's are straight awful.
They're garbage. They're garbage. I love some of these. The thing that's kind of
this. So letting the listeners know, businessinsider.com has got a nice article there. I know I spent a little bit looking, trying to find, and each different press release. And it looks like this is a group that they actually update as new ones get released. They update there. So the businessinsider.com version of that is what we're looking at. And you can look at that, and they've got some decent pictures of each of them. But yeah, go ahead then, Jonathan.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm a Memphis area native. Memphis is the only team that will not be wearing one. Does not have a city edition jersey this year because they are debuting a completely new set of jerseys. So they didn't actually make a city jersey because they're debuting all completely new stuff, and they're going to do throwbacks instead. And they're going to do the Vancouver era throwbacks instead of a city jersey.
No, that's not bad.
Which are super awesome because the Vancouver era throwbacks were just awesome to begin with.
And maybe this is my ignorance here. As a Bucks fan, I don't know what Cream City is. Like, I've never heard Milwaukee be called Cream City before. Okay, so like, I don't hate them, but I'm sitting there going like, what is, like, I don't know. It's just I guess I'll have to do some research maybe and see.
While you're talking about stuff that doesn't make sense with your team, I'll talk about mine. Houston, for the first time in like a long time, is not going to have a jersey with Chinese lettering on it, and I have a feeling that is connected to a certain issue that happened over the offseason. And as cool as the H-Town kind of astronaut vibe is, like, I really like it, but it really looks like it was just trying to avoid bad PR.
Well, in addition to that, I'll also say this, like, and I'm reading it, it's inspired by Houston's connection to NASA and all that stuff. Looking at the picture, nothing about it, to me, says space. Like, nothing about that tells me has anything to do. It's a different. And then H-Town, like, is that a thing? That just.
Oh yeah,
like that's someone like making up a new nickname.
No, people call Houston H-Town all the time.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And then even the way like the logos and flags are placed on it, it looks like an astronaut's uniform where they put the flag, like the American flags.
Oh, okay.
And so
I see that a little bit. All right.
It's very, very much inspired by the NASA headquarters there in Houston, and it makes perfect sense. I like them. I think they're cool. I like the Space City alternate jerseys that we have to begin with, though, more than these.
Well, what I would do on these, your H-Town font, NASA has a very iconic font.
Yeah.
Just a crazy idea. How about use your word in that, or your name in that font? H-Town in NASA font.
I guarantee you there's some sort of copyright issue, and it's probably very expensive.
But I don't know. The Pacers is actually a new one. I'm just scrolling through it. This was one that wasn't up yesterday when I was looking at it. The Pacers is a little different, but it's got this kind of race car theme to it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Kind of like that was totally not there yesterday.
I really like the clean look of the Timberwolves. Just kind of that kind of real baby blue, just a real traditional looking kind of old school uniform. I really like that. I hate the Orlando Magic. Like, dude, I'm sorry, but like, no, like it's just horrible.
I like Orlando's.
It looks really cool, but if it's based on a story, and the story apparently is it's inspired by citrus fields, it just looks like a black. It's a really good looking black and red, or orangish red jersey, but just nothing about it says Orlando Magic, which is fine. As I said, city jerseys, you can do that, but I have to be able to look and see where you're coming from.
Okay,
and nothing about this says citrus fields.
It's actually that confuses me. It looks like downtown Disney to me. If you've ever been to Orlando and the downtown Disney Walk there, it shouts that out, but the citrus field backdrop thing is what confuses me about that one. The Suns are tight.
The Suns are tight. I wish that they had. It was one of those things of try something different. Like they do Los Suns often. Like they've got specific, deliberate Los Suns. So don't give me another Los Suns jersey. I will say that it is an awesome element of this city. The Los Suns thing, like no, that's an awesome thing. Some of them I feel like they just kind of mailed in. Portland, I feel like kind of mailed theirs in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Utah,
Rip City. Go on to the next joke, or go on to the next thing. Other ones.
Utah brought back the same one from last year, which of course it was a great one from last year. But
that was and then there was one more. So Oklahoma City's is another one that kind of got me. Apparently, it's one of those ones where it's a great story behind it, but I don't get that story when I first look at the jersey. Supposedly, it's inspired by the Oklahoma City bombing from 25 years ago. Nothing about the jersey tells me that.
Oh no! If you've been in Oklahoma City, you can catch some of those. Some of these things they're real inside references. Like the waistband's got the survivor tree on it, and then it's got remember, like stuff like that. But those are really small details. Nothing big in it would shout that out to me.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. The other one I love, and I remember seeing this. This was put out in the preview. The Clippers. I love the Clippers.
That font is just awesome.
It's mean. It's a mean font.
Can that be their regular jerseys? I liked it.
Another one I was not a huge fan of, Detroit. Detroit felt like one that was just kind of someone in the marketing department was, hey, we need to make a city jersey. Intern John, use MS Paint, figure something out, and submit it. And he goes, okay, or straight up use Jersey Builder in 2K.
Yeah, is it a question? Is it supposed to be racing stripes? Is that the idea?
I think so.
It looks like a knockoff of FC Barcelona.
Well, yeah, that's how they described it. But if you're gonna do racing stripes, it's the iconic statement is it's blue with white stripes. That's not just Ford, but Ford, Chevy, Camaros were blue with white stripes. That's the iconic racing stripe combination. But that's kind of just weird. One that I will say, because we went through, I know in our chat a lot of people ripped it. I actually like the Mavs.
I like it. I think it's a huge '90s hip hop kind of throwback.
It is. I'm a hat guy. In case our viewers haven't noticed, I wear hats in pretty much every podcast. I've got a wall full of hats. I don't know if I would ever wear that hat, but part of the hat with this logo and the hat that's based on this jersey. But I kind of want that hat in my collection.
Yeah, it looks very, very similar to the Brooklyn ones that are definitely a Biggie
Yeah.
reference. I I'm just gonna say it. The only ones I absolutely hate, Chicago's. They're an eyesore.
Why baby blue?
I don't know. Luckily, they're only scheduled to wear them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. They're only scheduled to wear those 5 games.
And luckily they're bad, so those games are probably not nationally televised.
That's good too.
I did some research here, and Cream City for Milwaukee apparently is a nod to the bricks that they used to build the city, because the bricks in Milwaukee were not red; they were cream colored. So there's that. The more you know, like, but
But
awesome.
yeah,
what do we got up next now?
So next we got coming up, we've got college sports going through. This is always kind of a fun week, too, with NCAA basketball, because it's the Thanksgiving weekend or weekend before Thanksgiving is often like weird mid-season invite tournaments weekend.
Yeah.
And they do a few of these throughout. So those are always kind of fun because I love the way that most of these tournaments get set up. Is you typically will get like 2 powerhouses and a couple mid teams and then a couple bad teams, or 2 powerhouses and a couple like small schools to get beat up on, which is always kind of just a fun atmosphere to go. It gives an opportunity for some crazy upsets. But yeah, I'm also in a little bit. I finally got to go see my school a game for them, and they actually won that game, which was surprising. But we're still not great, and it makes me sad. Our best player is still ineligible, academics, until conference play, which is disappointing. But it also gives us hope.
You could live in the Memphis area, and they could just have made a guy ineligible for something that's really stupid, and then proved that they didn't care because they're like, oh, just pay the money back and serve a 12-game suspension. So yeah.
But yeah,
but
so
anyway,
that's been crazy. But yeah, and then also college football coming through. Think the playoff is starting to take shape and getting weird, and what's going to happen. And I think the biggest thing we got to look at was the quarterback for Alabama, the tank for Tua. That's been the thing that we've been saying all year.
Yeah.
Is that still in play?
No, it's tank for Burrows at this point.
Yeah, now it's butt off Burrows.
Well, Burrows may have taken it before the injury, but I guess the follow-up on that is, I guess I'm looking at it, should Tua come back next year?
No.
Mm-mm.
So I
get paid.
I normally would say get paid, but come back to college.
No. Here's what. Listen, this is the best thing. In a weird way, this is a huge blessing in disguise for Tua, because he's not going to go to the Bengals. He's not going to go to the Dolphins. He's going to fall to the end of the first round, and somebody like New England or somebody like New Orleans or somebody who has an elite team with an aging quarterback is going to take him at the end of the first, and then all of a sudden they've got their guy for the next however long. And so now he's going to get drafted into a much better, stable situation, and he'll take the year, rehab the hip, and maybe year 2 or 3 into his NFL career, then he starts. Like this is if you're Tua, in a weird way, you're happy that now your draft stock is falling, because it's going to give you a better situation to get paid in the long run, rather than just hopefully get that first contract off.
I hate this, but the best thing for Tua is for him to fall to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The best thing for him is if he gets drafted by Pittsburgh. Like, I don't like Pittsburgh at all. At all. But he'll get to be there behind Big Ben, who wants a good farewell tour. And he'll get to rehab. this hip thing, it's the same injury that destroyed Bo Jackson.
Right.
It did, and that is a scary moment. But then we do also have to memorize or look and see what happened with medicine.
He doesn't have to run Bo Jackson. Like he needs to sit back in the pocket. Now Tua can move, but he's not like this is not nearly as catastrophic as it was for Bo Jackson, given the position that he plays.
Well, and Bo Jackson got hurt in what the early '90s, if not even the late '80s. How far has medicine come since then? Like it. I mean, shoot, it wasn't that long ago where a pitcher who tore ligament in their elbow, they were done forever. And now there are guys on 3 or 4 Tommy John surgeries and still pitching at elite. I mean, medicine has evolved a lot since that injury. So it's something worth noting that it is that Bo Jackson injury, but it's also worth noting that, you know what, this is not the death sentence it was for Bo.
Right, and he gets to avoid, like I just said, he gets to avoid Cincinnati. He gets to avoid Miami. He gets to avoid those bad situations. He gets to go to a team that, here's the thing, I know Chicago isn't very good right now. They're probably going to be drafting between 8 and 13. I could see the Bears taking Tua if he falls to him. And the thing is, that's not going to be the world's worst situation. It's not going to be as good as if he can't sit behind a quarterback because they're done with Trubisky. Like their window is closing, and they have an elite defense, and they need to get somebody in there very shortly to replace Trubisky, which I think Phillip Rivers or Cam Newton could be there next year, but that's another topic. But Tua, I think Tua falling is going to be good for him. Pittsburgh's a good spot for him. Bro, like, it would be the most Bill Belichick thing ever. Tua's there at the end, and you go grab him at 30, 31, 32, wherever they end up.
So I feel like there is an argument to be made of, especially with the way Burrow has come out, that Tua probably wasn't going to be that number 1 overall pick anyway. I mean, yes, we agree and we look at long-term things, but short-term money is something that talks. Like I said, coming back and being a number 1 overall pick.
No, but the CBA, bro, the CBA doesn't allow for those huge contracts for rookies anymore. Like the difference between a guy and the first overall pick and the 30th overall pick, it's not that huge as far as signing bonuses go in the first round. I would have to look at. I don't think it is.
In the first round, it's not that huge of a drastic difference. It's the between like a first rounder and a third rounder that you see the huge shift.
Right.
Like let's just be honest. We're seeing that play out. Dak Prescott is refusing to take a hometown discount because he got drafted way later than he should have. Like he shouldn't have fallen to the 4th round. And so he's like, I didn't get my money to begin with, so I've got to get it now.
And that's fair. And that's fine. But I don't think there's no way that Tua falls past pick 40? Can we agree? He's not.
Absolutely no way he falls past mid-second round.
That's still a lot of money. There's still a big money difference.
His leg amputated and still go top 3 rounds. There's absolutely no way he needs to play if there's any chance that he can be that he can get paid. Sorry.
No, fair. Just one of those ones that when it first happened, it just kind of struck me of he's got an excuse to say now if he wants it, which could get interesting. Other things, bowl season is starting to take shape, which is kind of fun. And then the other thing is we got an upcoming week where rivalries I feel like a lot more rivalries used to take place over Thanksgiving, but I think after conference realignment, some stuff kind of changed. Is there anything that's jumping out or anything that's got you excited? Any of those rivalry games for that week? Next week? Nothing?
I got Wisconsin, Minnesota, just obviously as a homer. Like, that's going to be a great game.
That's a big game.
That's a huge game. with Wisconsin losing to Illinois earlier this year, like there's no, even if we win the Big Ten, I can't imagine they put a 2-loss Big Ten team in the Final Four. So we're playing for other means right now. But man, I love the Minnesota story, and I'm really disappointed lost to Iowa. But here's the thing: is the winner of that Wisconsin Minnesota game is most likely, depending on how some things shake out, playing Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. So I think that for the Big Ten is going to be a big deal. So Minnesota has 1 loss. Wisconsin has 2 losses, and so once they play that head-to-head, they'll both. If Wisconsin were to win, they would both have 2 losses. Wisconsin would then have the tiebreaker because they beat them head-to-head. They would go play Ohio State, which I think you could probably put Wisconsin and Minnesota's roster together and pick the best players and make one team, and they would still lose to Ohio State. I think Ohio State is the best team in the country.
Yeah. So for me, the battle of the Golden Boot starts that is tomorrow. That is Arkansas LSU, and it is stinking hilarious. Arkansas is the biggest joke of a college football team in the SEC. It is so bad. Like I'm pretty sure they almost lost their bye week. Like I'm pretty sure they almost lost their bye week. So it's and then LSU is just torching it. And the fact that is the primetime ESPN game tomorrow is cracking me up. Like if LSU broke 100, I wouldn't be surprised.
Let me ask you guys this. I know this is a little bit off script here. Who's your Final Four? Who's your 4 for the college football playoff?
I'm going to do you're going to get mad at me for a cop out, but I'm not on the committee, which means I can actually wait to make a call. So,
well, asking you right now, if you were to guess, what is your best prediction for the Final Four?
Alabama, just because Alabama's in. They're not going to leave Alabama. Alabama, in no particular order. Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and
do you think LSU loses enough to get out?
Well, it's between this is what I'm saying. This is why I look forward to waiting. The winner of LSU Georgia.
Okay, that's fair. I think LSU. Jonathan, what would be your 4? Just curious.
If it ended today, Ohio State. Let's see, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, and if it ended today, let's see.
The committee would still find a way to put Bama in it. You know it.
I know. The committee would. I would pick Minnesota over Bama.
Well, no, this wasn't. Oh, okay, wait. What was your question, Brian?
Was it who
this
you would pick?
Think is going in?
Not what happened today. I'm saying when it's all said and done, who do you think is going to be in the Final Four?
Okay.
Oh, who do we think is? Alabama could lose 3 games and the committee would still put them in because they're stupid.
Yeah,
but
I think Alabama. So if I'm going to give mine, I'm going to kind of give a little bit of a sleeper pick here. I'm going to go LSU, Ohio State, and then I'm going to go Clemson, and then I'm going to go Oregon.
Instead of okay
6 right now. I think Oregon goes undefeated, or they're not undefeated. They're 9-1, but I think they're a 1-loss Pac-12 team. And I think that they've played a better schedule than Alabama, and that Georgia lost. Who did Georgia lose to? Was it Vanderbilt or no, South Carolina? When Georgia lost to South Carolina, that's a bad loss. Like that's a horrible loss.
It is a bad loss, but beating LSU makes up for that bad loss.
That's fine, but I think LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson all go undefeated, and then have that last going to Oregon.
Yeah, no. If LSU beats Georgia in the SEC championship,
there's no way.
Absolutely, yeah. Going back to our previous thing, there is a rivalry that I actually do want to get on a podcast that's a national podcast. My little sister attended Montana State, and I'll say this: the most underrated rivalry in college football honestly, is Montana State. Hang on.
Are we talking Montana football right
now? Wait. So, having visited it,
squad? Do they play 8-a-side?
Is it like 8-man football up there? Do they have enough guys to like put teams together? Like,
is that Division 1?
Yes, it's Division 1. It's FCS. It's D1 FCS. But so the craziest thing that got me, because I had never, like, again, when my sister went there, like, I was your guy. I was exactly like your guys' reaction is right now. But you get there, so there are many people in the state of Alabama that don't have an opinion when it comes to Alabama or War Eagle. Like, Roll Tide, War Eagle, there's a number of people in the state of Alabama who go, go Dragons, go others. But in the state of Montana, in my experience in the state of Montana, the entire state has chosen a side.
That's because the entire state could fit on one of those campuses.
There's actually some decent sized towns, but it really is like you'll go to you'll go to the towns that are far away from the camp. No, the entire state has an opinion on Cat Grizz. It blew my, like, I was not prepared for it. If you get a chance, it really typically is a fantastic game. It's an underrated rivalry. I said the entire it's crazy. There are bars in random towns that if you park your car at with the wrong bumper sticker, you will not come back with tires. Like, you will come back with no tires on your car. Like, and again, not in Bozeman or not in Missoula, like, not in the actual college towns themselves, in just other towns throughout the thing. Nope. You parked this in the wrong side of the town. You go across the street and you're fine, but you parked it at the wrong place. Like, it just blows my mind how intense this rivalry is.
There is literally, if you were to combine the populations of the top 3, I just looked this up. You took the top 3 cities in Montana and you combine the population of all 3 cities, you have under 200,000 people. So
now the other thing would be: are you talking about cities or metropolitan areas? Because Bozeman.
I'm sorry, no, I miscalculated. It's a little over 200,000.
Okay,
but you have Billings, Missoula, and Great Falls. Like, the 3rd biggest city in Montana has less than 60,000 people.
So Bozeman is that's the other thing. Here's a little bit of Montana geography from visiting there. Bozeman is a very weird town because Bozeman itself is small, but it's really weird when you think these small towns. Small towns in Bozeman have suburbs that are their own incorporated towns. So Bozeman only has, like, not counting student population, Bozeman's only got like 40,000 people in it. But then it's got another 10,000 person town right next to it, and then another 6,000 person town next to it, and another 5,000 person town next to that. Like, it's weird. It's like, wait, you're in this small area with metropolitan areas.
I bet Applebee's and an Olive Garden.
Like, no.
All right.
Bozeman has everything, but like I said, it's underrated. Check it out.
Montana football.
Check it out. It's an underrated rivalry, and it's typically a fantastic game. The students and the fans really get into it. It really is a great game.
Sorry, man, I had a hard time on that.
But so yeah, moving on here. The NFL is coming up. Yes, this is what we had to start arguing because we're going to be arguing all throughout off camera on Sunday. Just actually not even that. I've got church in the morning. I missed the beginning of the game.
We know that this is not a marquee matchup for most people, but this is, as far as personal feelings are involved, we wanted to talk about the Bills and Broncos game. Mainly, I'll let Ben kind of make a case for the Broncos, and then I'll destroy that.
My case is Denver loses 9-10.
You think it's going to be one of those, huh?
I really think it, because despite how the rest of the season is, and Denver's defense has had off games. Denver's defense is still actually dominating. They've got it is incredibly difficult to move the ball on that defense. In the red zone, that defense becomes a wall. Like that defense does not give up red zone points. And
Listen,
I don't.
You guys. Go ahead.
I don't. No one on Buffalo jumps out at me. So how do you score against Denver's defense? Is you hit a home run. You hit a home run pass and a home run ball. Like that's how you get touchdowns against Denver.
You also have to understand it's strength on strength. Buffalo has the #1 red zone offense in the league. When we get inside the 20, it's like 77% of the time we score a touchdown. So when you talk about strength, so it's going to be really interesting. Listen, you guys have a very good aging defense. You got Von Miller, who's getting old. Chris Harris Jr.
Von Miller's not old yet.
I mean, he was drafted.
He's having an off year this year, yeah. But I think it's more of he misses Robin. Robin was really supposed to be there and prevent double team, or you can only double team one of them, so the other guy gets a sack.
Is Chubb hurt?
Yeah, Chubb's out for the season. So I think Chubb tore his Achilles.
Listen, I know it was against the Dolphins, but I really feel like the Bills kind of figured some things out on offense last week. Our defense is top 5. Nobody's going to question that. I'm not saying it's the best defense in the league, but it's top 5 for sure. And I think our offense, although it was against the Dolphins, as far as a rhythm was and kind of figuring out an identity, I will say this: Josh Allen is second in the league. It's like he hasn't thrown an interception in 170 passes, and that was his knock at the beginning of the year, that he turned the ball over. Since the Titans game, I think it was week 7, he's 10 touchdowns, no picks. Yeah. And so I really see Josh turning the corner. I don't think he's going to put up 35 points on the Broncos defense, but I do think that with Devin Singletary, our rookie running back, who's kind of tearing things, he's like under this radar. Nobody's really talking about him unless you have him on your fantasy team. Devin Singletary, Josh Allen. I see us scoring 2 to 3 touchdowns on the Broncos. I've got it like a 24 to 13 in the battle of the Allens. Let me ask you this, Ben. Do you think Kyle Allen? I'm sorry. Which Allen are we talking about?
Brandon Allen.
Is it Brandon Allen? Yeah.
Brandon, yeah.
Yeah. And so is he going to be the starter next year?
Unlikely. I don't know if he's enough. I like what I've seen from him, but the biggest things that I like of what I've seen from him, I love him as our solid backup quarterback.
That's what
because he does little stuff that I want my backup quarterback to do. I think if other things when we won the Super Bowl, we won the Super Bowl with Manning's leadership, and that's what drove us to that Super Bowl. Yes. So I don't know if he's got that, but as far as skill level, if he had that defense and that run game that we had when we won the Super Bowl, he could have won a Super Bowl.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that worries me. The thing that worries me as a Bills fan, last week notwithstanding, our run defense has not been good over the last 4 or 5 weeks. The Eagles gashed us. The Cleveland gashed us. I am a little bit worried about Freeman and
Lindsey.
Lindsey. I am a little worried. If the Broncos are to play spoiler, it's not going to be because of Allen's arm, because our secondary is just locked down. Our pass defense is tops. It's going to be that Philip Lindsay goes for $150 and 2 touchdowns. Go ahead, John. Yeah, John.
As a guy who has Freeman on his fantasy team, I would love Freeman to just torch that defense. Although I am starting the Buffalo defense, so I don't know if I'd love him to torch the defense. Thinking about it now. But anyway, I will say this. As someone who lived in Arkansas during Brandon Allen's time in Arkansas, I'm surprised he's a quarterback in the NFL. I'm shocked he's a quarterback.
Well, I remember when he first came through, you weren't there, but like I said, I know I mentioned this in other pods, but I watched him play. Watching him play, he doesn't make the splash play, but he doesn't make the mistake. He makes the safe play as opposed to I'm going to take an extra risk, which from a backup quarterback I kind of want.
No, the fact that he is actually a viable choice for an NFL quarterback after how bad he was at Arkansas is just proof that Arkansas has had terrible coaches since they had the motorcycle.
It's not like he had a great line and everyone else and great weapons.
as good as John Elway was as a quarterback, can we all agree he sucks at picking quarterbacks? Because I mean, he had Peyton. Hold on, let me just say this. He had Peyton fall into his lap, and since Peyton, it's been what? Brock Osweiler, Trevor Simeon, Brandon Allen. I mean, Paxton.
So
it's just like
so. The picks. If we're gonna make this thing, I will defend John Elway here. Brock Osweiler was people were, and not just Broncos people. Most of the league looked at that pick and said it was going to be a good pick. And I also argue that if he had never left Denver, I honestly think we would be in a different. Everything, the entire conversation would have changed.
All I'm saying is those picks that the Texans gave the Browns to take Osweiler were worth it.
No, it was. It was. But again, like I said, we look and we saw what he did the year before with that team on that organization with that good. He played really well. There was talk of if push came to shove and Manning couldn't get healthy, he was going to run us to the Super Bowl, and I think we had a shot there with that team. I think things went through. He got messed up in Houston. But beyond that, Paxton, that was the other guy that we look at. People were less excited about it, but Paxton was a late first-round quarterback. There's a reason he wasn't a top 10 quarterback. He was a late first-round quarterback.
All I'm saying, though, is that the fact is it just feels like John Elway doesn't necessarily have a plan because these guys that suck end up like being forced in, like Trevor Simeon. I remember when they're like Broncos announced Trevor Simeon is a starter, and I'm like, who? Like, who is that? 7th rounder from Northwestern. I have no, like, he was not even on, like, 99% of the time in this league, if your quarterback is on a roster, he's going to be on the radar. But it just seems like the Broncos have been trotting out bag boys, or grocery boys out there just to, like, and I don't know, like, I love the defense that Denver's built. I am not sold on Elway's ability to draft and to get a quarterback. Here's the thing. You guys need to go get Cam Newton. That's what needs to happen next year. You guys need to go get him or Phillip Rivers, which I don't think Rivers would go to Denver.
You can't get Cam Newton after Von Miller turned him into the Cam Newton we have now. That's not fair.
Yeah, orange kryptonite ruined that man.
That's true.
But
anyways, I go on. All I'm gonna say is this. I'm just gonna make my Bills plug real quick. 7-3. We're probably gonna be 8-3. No, most likely playing the Broncos. And then guess what? We get to turn around 4 days later and come to Dallas, and we get on Thanksgiving. I'm so excited for that game. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna win or not. I think it's I don't know. It's very hard for me to be objective, but it's gonna be. I think it's going to be a better game than some of the Cowboy fans think. That's all I'm gonna say.
As the person married to a Cowboys fan and the person that is a suffering, can't figure out which Texas team I'm going to give my full allegiance to.
We have you on record.
Fan. Which, by the way, it's no one can really say I'm a bandwagon person because both of these teams are frustrating the snot out of me. Because I know the Texans won, but oh my goodness, they should not have won. Indiana played so much better than Houston did in that game. It was bad. But Bill O'Brien is Bill O'Brien. And then we have the Cowboys that are a dysfunctional mess. They have an elite offense and one of the worst defenses in football.
And being direct, wow.
Yeah, and then you could just that's the thing. They're an average defense when Van Der Esch is available, but they're one of the worst defenses in football with him out.
Good news, I saw he's not. Apparently, it's not a career-threatening injury. I saw that today.
That's good. And then we have the evil empire spying again, because it was reported earlier this week that Cowboys security caught people with video cameras that have connections to the Patriots trying to film practice.
So I never heard the connection. All I heard, all that I read about was there were people on the roof of a building that was near the Cowboys practice area.
Okay. So supposedly there were connections to the Patriots, but I cannot verify that at the moment, and so we'll go with there weren't. But it does fit a pattern of evidence, and I will say that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
It
I'm
fits
not
a pattern of
defending
evidence,
Belichick,
and
but
then it doesn't work out, and all of a sudden the day after we find out that didn't work out and they catch the people, all of a sudden Tom Brady is questionable. No, it's another ruse. Belichick is Emperor Palpatine, and he is trying to just manipulate everything in this situation, trying to be a jerk. Uh, it'll be bad. Uh, I think it's the weakest the Patriots have been, even though they're kind of stomping people. The Patriots haven't played a lot of good teams. The Cowboys haven't played a lot of good teams, and when they haven't really won. Same with the Patriots. The Patriots haven't really won against good teams, or when they played even teams that I feel like are kind of mediocre, like the Bills. I feel like the Bills are mediocre, and the Patriots didn't play them very well at all. So it doesn't feel as strong. I do think I will be watching the Cowboys game on next Thursday, and I will probably be getting like death glares from my wife, because I will be with her family, and they are all huge Cowboys fans. So I will be getting death glares. But I think it'll be a really good game. I think that'll be a good game. It'll be a really good defense with a middling to bad offense versus a really good offense with a middling to bad defense. So we're gonna kind of have to see where that goes. So
I will say this is Josh has not played in a dome this year. This will be the first time that he'll be indoors. We had the whole our schedule was the AFC North and the NFC East, and then and then none of the AFC East have dome stadium. So it'll be interesting to me to see, because everybody was talking about Josh has this huge arm, but he hasn't hit on deep balls this year, and that's been the complaint. But if you look at the games, the wind that he's been playing in has been ridiculous on almost every single game. I want to see how his athletic
you also
ability
have
looks.
to have a receiving core. I'm sorry, you a lot of those deep balls are more dependent on a receiver than they are on a quarterback. I've always believed that.
Well, here's the thing, I've been a Josh Allen apologist. His accuracy on deep balls sucks right now. It's and then the numbers back that up. They're bad. Like, he's overthrowing guys that are wide open 40 yards downfield. Now, this last week and that's why we're starting to see. We put up 37 points because Josh hit on a few. I'm excited to see. If we can take care of business in Denver. I think that basically the game that will tell me, is Buffalo a average team with a really weak schedule that's going to sneak in at 10-6, or hey, could we win a playoff game or two, is going to be Thanksgiving. If we can hang with the Cowboys and that running game, which I worry, that's a great offensive line. It's one of the best in the league. I as a fan, as a passionate
that running game has not been good this year, though.
It's still
Zeke got fat in Cabo. Zeke got fat in Cabo is what happened.
Yeah, it's still Zeke though. I don't like. Here's the thing: he's still top 3, top 4 running back in this league. The offensive line is good, and I want to see if our pass defense is number 1 in the league. And I know Dak is one of the top 3 as far as yardages go and touchdowns. We're not giving up. We're giving up less than like 200 a game passing. And I think Dak's throwing for 3 something. So I want to see that strength on strength. I want to see Amari Cooper versus Tre'Davious White. And I'm excited. I'm excited as a Bills fan for an opportunity to be nationally televised and like, hey, here's our 8-3 team. Let's go not embarrass ourselves and be, the Buffalo Bills like we always do. Like here's an opportunity to show the world, hey, we're actually for real. And I posted this earlier this week. There's going to be 2 outcomes for me. One, I'm either going to be trash talking all the way for the rest of the season, or I'm going to be on suicide watch. There's no in between. If we lose to Denver, I don't even know if I'm going to watch the game Thursday. But if we beat Denver, like if we get blown out by the Cowboys, like I can literally not talk. Considering I lived in Dallas for the last 5 years and half my Facebook is Cowboy fans, I will not be able to post or talk or do anything for the rest of the season, which might be better for everybody. But I'm excited. I could talk about this game all day. I'm super excited about Bills Cowboys.
So speaking of Facebook, Facebook, we've got a new trend or something that's popped up on Facebook in the last last day or so of everyone posting. I guess as we're closing in. In case you didn't know, we're closing in on the end of a decade. Um, so people have been posting 10. This is what I look. This was the pictures I had 10 years ago, and this is what I look like now. I have not done that because I don't take pictures, and I don't think I have pictures of me from 10 years ago. But so I thought it'd be kind of fun in all sports, not just football, not just basketball, not just college. What are some sports, some teams that jump out at you that have really interesting 10-year pictures? Either because they got ugly, or they got pretty, or they stayed the exact same amazingly, or their 10-year pictures, skips over an ugly or a pretty period. And there are some things that kind of went through. One that I thought was interesting, we kind of talked about this a little bit off air, is one that if you first look at it now, if you just looked at the 10-year pictures, so 10 years ago and then today, you would look and say that the Golden State Warriors are the same ugly kid as they've always been. Because 10 years ago they were trash and garbage, and now they're trash and garbage again. And you'd be, man, you're the exact same, and it completely overpasses the other one. Any other teams that just kind of jump out at you?
The Warriors are that person that was super overweight and then got into really, really good shape and then all of a sudden was on meth or something. Like that's what the Warriors were like. Sticking in the same sport, the Clippers. The Clippers look exactly where they were headed with that trajectory, because 10 years ago was when they drafted Blake #1. And they're exactly in the trajectory we thought they would be. Title contention, looks like they've got an MVP candidate, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's a completely different team.
I'm going to go a completely different direction, and I'm going to talk about Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I think if you were to look 10 years ago, he 2008, 2009, like the guy's on the top of the world, and then he goes and decides to be stupid, and he hurts his back. He has this issue with his wife, all this stuff. Completely falls off the planet to where he's not making cuts at amateur events, all of these things, and then he comes and wins the Masters this year, or one of the master events. And so I don't know. I look at Tiger Woods, pretty inspiring story. And so that's kind of a 10-year window, really, like kind of like a climb to the top of the mountain and then a complete fall. And then at least for a moment, I'm not saying that he's back or anything, but at least for a moment, for a day, he reclaims some of that glory again.
Okay, so here's the big one. Here's the big one. New York Yankees. New York Yankees 10 years ago were 1 year removed from winning a World Series, and they had won a World Series in every decade since the 1920s.
Yep.
And this will be the first decade since the 1920s that they have not won a World Series.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, so actually going this, I think I've got a great example that is going to make someone here upset. 10 years ago, the Astros.
Shut up.
The Astros were not great at all. The Astros were awful. This might get edited out. But the Astros were not great. They were awful. Well, and now you look at them, oh my goodness, they're jacked. They're super, oh my goodness, they look amazing. But in the back, we see steroid needles, and we see all these other things in the back behind them.
We see that or they're the couple that looks like they're happy because they just went to a marriage retreat, but we see the divorce on the horizon, because it looks like Rob Manfred's about to drop the hammer on him.
Yeah, this is not this one was crazy. You know what? Honestly, for the record, I was not thinking them until you mentioned the Yankees, and then I just mentioned that, and I'm like, who's there? And I'm like, oh yeah.
You think another team off the top of my head we could look at is like the San Antonio Spurs. From 10 years ago with Duncan, Parker, Ginobili, Popovich, and all that stuff, and they've just made such a huge transformation. And they're always a solid team. Their coaching is always going to be solid. It's Pop,
is it?
But it's not. I think it is.
I don't know.
Pop's
I think Pop's coaching has been. It's weird. Like Pop is usually the innovator.
Yeah.
And everything, and it just feels like Pop is not keeping up with the times. I think he got exposed badly at the World Cup this year. Uh, and then the Spurs have been it's questionable coaching. I feel like Pop is getting out coached a lot. Now I don't think their roster's the best. Jamal Murray's is not Jamal Murray. Dejounte Murray. Dejounte Murray is probably their best player, and he's on a minutes restriction. And so it's rough. It's a bad roster. It's a bad fitting roster. They don't have any shooting on the team, but it's rough. But yeah,
when did Boston make the big trade where they traded everyone to Brooklyn?
2011.
Yeah, wasn't it?
The beginning of the 20s?
No, it would have been after that because remember the Miami Heat played them a couple of times and LeBron went to the Heat in 2011. And so
okay.
So it would have been like 12 or 13.
Okay, because I'm trying to think that one I could think of been one there.
So Boston in super team mode, and then now not.
They were just gonna say, well, they went there, but they went from blowing up the team to they blew it up, but it never really blew up. But they were able to score and get a bunch of amazing players and still be, oh wow, they're still there. You shouldn't have done this after blowing up. I'm trying to think of a good football example. I mean, the Patriots are still the same.
The Giants.
Yeah, I mean,
the Giants were coming off a Super Bowl, right? Or between Super Bowls.
The Giants were a weird element there because the Giants would either for most of Eli's career, the Giants are either winning a Super Bowl or being awful. Like they rarely were ever okay, I guess they're a decent team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I think that's good. That's a good question. I could.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's let our viewers. Let our viewers.
You could look at. Yeah, you could look at the same way. 09, 10, back-to-back AFC Championship games. You know, and you know, it doesn't. Here's the thing: it's only the butt fumble was only a few. You know, that was only a few years ago. But Rex Ryan.
By the way,
we forget because Rex Ryan today. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, the Jets are a big one that's had a big change because they back-to-back AFC championships.
Rex Ryan was a good coach for 2 years, which is hard to believe. But for 2 seasons, his defense was ridiculously awesome, and he took Mark Sanchez to 2 AFC championship games. And then the wheels fell off. But, the Jets are another team that will hopefully always be horrible and awful because it's 2 free wins a year. So
there's that. I mean, the Bills, you can say looked better. I mean, they went from being they were a joke 10 years ago. They were a complete and utter doormat. So I'm sorry, that's still a giant.
The Bills had the longest playoff drought in pro sports.
Yep.
And now that is owned by No, it's not Minnesota. Is it Sacramento now? It's a basketball team, isn't it? The Kings.
That sounds right.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to look that up.
But yeah, some of the Bills actually have prettied up over the past 10 years.
So no, yeah, I mean we're getting there.
Yes, you haven't done a complete teen movie makeover yet. Started off really wow not pretty at all to oh my goodness, prettiest girl in school. No, you haven't done that, but definitely improved.
Yeah, the longest playoff drought
is the Mariners.
Yeah, Seattle.
The Mariners. Yep.
Well,
it's amazing what a little research gets you.
I know, right? I wish I was just Joe Rogan. I could be like, "Hey, Jamie, pull this up."
Yeah. We've actually started up, so we now have a Facebook page. So please like our Facebook page, Sports Den the podcast, on Facebook. It's the same logo as there. The cover picture is black and red. That way that's what it is. Like it. We'll try to share some articles. Maybe put stuff, other stuff. We've got a few bunch of different ideas that we're tossing around between ourselves of little things of kind of giving you guys some more content. But then also sharing sports related stuff that we say, and it catches our attention, and maybe hopefully it'll catch yours as well. So please go ahead and give that a like, follow on that if you hear that, and then same thing on give us 5-star reviews, like us on YouTube. Awesome. And with that, we will see you guys next week. Have a happy Thanksgiving.